or the old Druid fire and the Christian fire?
I don't think so, no.
Well, what are the two fires then?
No,
what do they symbolize?
Well, I think probably, I don't know, I'm guessing, that rather than send cattle through one fire, they probably set up so that if you drive, separate them just a little bit so they don't get burned.
Oh, okay.
It's just a little piece of ingenuity, I would. Yeah. But theoretically, you're sending them through the fire. But, kids play, Northern Ireland actually does this more than Southern Ireland. They still love bonfires in Northern Ireland. They still do. There's something primeval about a big bonfire at night, in the evening. There's just something magical about it. And outside is the darkness, and here is the people. So all kinds of things. You got the sparks, going up, and people running around. There's just a tremendous amount of mystery. You could almost, really get carried away. If you've ever been to one, and remember, when I was growing up, when I was a very young kid, we did not have rural electricity. Right. So, and we had the bonfires at the crossroads. And there was within a mile or two of us, there would be 4 or 5 bonfires. So a question of which one you went to. And it was kind of like watching the fireworks, well, is Mission Bay better than Coronado one? Oh, look at the downtown one is going, and so on. So we had bonfires, because the population was huge, and it's still quite large in those, before they all started to disappear in the 50s. So that, I can still see that as plain as day, but every sort of thing was brought along to burn at the bonfire, and everybody was expected to bring something. You didn't arrive with one hand as long as the other, as they would say. Yeah, you came with something for the fire, and food. But I remember still there was a lot of courting going on. There was a lot of carrying on within little distance of the fire. You'd see, young couple heading up their boring a little bit, nice and sneaky. But so definitely everybody looked forward to it, because you got out at night, and but there was something absolutely totally magic about it. Really was totally magical about it, and you can see how they must have gotten away. And apparently it grew to be quite a big festivals. You can imagine before the famine, when the population was 8.5 to 10, we don't know, at least 8.5 million, as opposed to 4. The country was teeming with people, literally teeming with people. So you can imagine what the bonfire nights would have been like in those days. And that was probably when the population was at its absolute peak, was in the first half of the 1800s. And probably going back into the 1500s. And it seems like there always was a fairly reasonably strong level of population throughout the country. But going way back into ancient times, obviously, it was looked forward to, and it was important. I'm not sure that one can read a tremendous amount into the religious aspect of it. I'm sure that the Druids, and now there's a thing that I'd like to, you've heard me talking about Druids before. In Ireland they were called Dree, Draoi, Dree. And in different European countries, they were called something similar, So Druids is probably Welsh, because Wyd, the wise, is very, very Welsh. But so they wouldn't have known a Druid in Ireland like we think of them, and certainly the word Dree and the whole what would I say, existence of shaman or religious men or wise men predated the Celts by millennia. So the word Druid and probably came in with the Normans. I don't know, I'm guessing, from the Welsh, because they were essentially Welsh Norman. But anyway, the correct word really was drui. And they, of course, were an important part of the power structure that the king wielded, especially the keeper of the fire. But you can see the parallels with the classical world, the Vestal Virgins, and even down into today, in only just slowly dying out now. Yourself, when you went into a church, you had the little sanctuary lamp, so that the lamp burned. So the Christian church adopted a lot of the old religious, the old fire-based practices, and the keeper of the flame. That concept was very, very old, and where the fire came from, and so on. Just looking at one little story here, where Patrick, or the Christians, transferred the Mayfire ceremonies to the 24th of June, which is true. They kind of get a little mixed up. May Day and the Maypole and so on. The Maypole is a Germanic thing, actually. It's more British than Gaelic than Irish.
So that too is strongly associated with fertility, wasn't it?
Oh, very definitely. Very definitely. You can guess what the pole actually represented. It wasn't exactly what it might be depicted. It definitely had to do with fertility, yes. It was a giant phallic symbol, that's what it was. But the keeper of the flame, and but it's interesting how it got into the Christian world, how they kept it on, how the flame and the fire worship.
So if they were against vow, why did they adopt the circle and impose it on the cross, make it part of the Celtic cross?
Oh, that was just a sort of a symbol of. Well, it was just a compromise between Christianity and paganism. The circle, I'm glad you brought that up, because the circle is variously interpreted to represent the sun. More likely it represents eternity, because it is a mathematical. But certainly the ancients were very fascinated and preoccupied with eternity and with the circle. And what I find very interesting, if you take a circle like a rubber band and you bend it into a sort of figure of eight, if you bend it into the little triad, it's called the Celtic triad. Yeah, that sort of thing. You let it loose, it springs right back into a circle again, which I've always taken to mean that matter and the everything is in 3 dimensions. So you can take a circle and you can give it reality or corporeal presence, so to speak, in the 3 dimensions, and it goes right back into infinity again. So in other words, the ability to transfer backwards and forwards between existence and non-existence, if you like, in eternity. And it's almost like they invented the string theory back then. That's kind of what the string theory of physics is all about. It's sort of, now you see it, now you don't. It's vibrating, but it's actually vibrating from existence to non-existence. It's there and it's not there. So the actual ultimate theory of physics, as I understand it, is that it's literally vibrating in and out of existence, which is exactly what the Celtic triad is all about. If you look at that, and if you try it out with any sort of circular thing, it'll just spring right back again into single existence. Because if you look at it, it's infinite. Yeah. You're rolling your eyes. Why?
No, I wanted to get back to
Oh, I see. I have a
I
habit
wanted to
of.
get out of physics, I don't do well in that area.
You don't do physics, okay.
But I saw something briefly about the decorated bushes with eggshells, and that's where we end up with Easter eggs?
Could be, because Easter is all tied in with this. The Paschal fire, you know.
No, it's just that we're out in the middle of, it wasn't West Course, it
No,
was
it's not
actually
the
up in the mountains.
Megaphone.
And we went
No.
past this tree, and it didn't have any manner of undergarment on it.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, it
Rags.
had
It was very
rags
colorful.
and mostly socks.
Yeah.
Could have brought her too, but
I
you
think
know,
the
what
eggshells
was
came
that
to-
all about?
The eggshells were left over from
Drying
Easter.
them out.
And they would-
Left
they
over
would-
from what?
Left over from Easter, which was a couple months earlier, so they would use them over May. Yeah.
Is that it?